Right now at 5:30, a major North Carolina hospital is facing a lawsuit after a former nurse was accused of killing two patients and trying to kill another. Johnathan Hayes is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Prosecutors say he gave large doses of insulin to at least 3 patients at Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. That facility is located about an hour and a half from Charlotte in Winston-Salem. A class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the victims and their families. The suit claims there were red flags that should have alerted hospital administrators that Hayes was giving more insulin to patients than any other employee. Let's bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes into this conversation. So, Khalif, what else does a lawsuit accuse the hospital and Atrium Health of doing?
Failing to protect their patients, failing to do the things, those red flags where you know that this individual was doing something that was outside of the scope and not checking his background. He had been let go for some type of conduct like this in the past, not alleging that he had killed other individuals in the past, but for mismanaging and not properly documenting when you're pulling these types of medications out, specifically these high alert medications. High alert, I reached out to a number of medical professionals and a couple nurses, specifically ER nurse, a trauma nurse, and she said that when you're looking at these high alert ones, you're already on notification that I'm giving this person medication that may do something to them, and you have to note that down, and other folks will be recognizing that that's occurring. And so that's the first step. The other portion is that they didn't have the proper procedure in place to ensure that these individuals were having a check balancing process. And so the hospital, what the families are alleging is that they misstepped on a number of cases. And we have to mention this as well. It wasn't just 2 individuals that died. 3 individuals died. Even though he's charged with murder for 2 people, the second lady died 2 days later after she talked to investigators. And so in all counts, he should be on hook for 3 counts of murder in this case right here.
And like you mentioned, there are checks and balances at the hospital. It's not like one person is watching over one patient. There are a number of people involved in what it takes to take care of someone at the hospital.
A lot of the folks that I talked to mentioned this thing called a 2-nurse system, where if you're over one patient and you look and say that they need this medication, I may come behind you and check up on that. In the wake of COVID and a number of other processes where folks, just like every employment, has seemed to be underworked and overpaid, they cut some of those processes out. And Atrium Hospital System is like every other hospital system that I talked to in the country that seemed to have removed that for requiring 2-nurse check for insulin. And that's something that I think should have been still in place, and that's what the families are alleging. The boards that watch over these types of things for medication being dispersed to individuals recommended that all hospitals keep a 2-nurse system, and I know that's what the family is pointing to. Here's a documentation that shows from the experts that you guys should do this, and this would cut down on deaths, it would cut down on injuries, it would cut down errors, and now hospitals are deciding not to do that. If I can point to your policy on why your policy has failed my family member, that's a clear road to success for a lawsuit.
So then, to that point, do you think that the hospital can be held liable for these people's deaths? And what about the actual person who's being charged in this case?
Just like any wrongful death claim, I mean, his case seems pretty cut and dry. He admitted to a number of things at first pressed by officers. He denied it, and then at some point he admitted to it. He took 100 vials out of there, 100-unit vials. That one vial, when I talked to the professionals, they say he could use for the whole floor, not for one person. So he already knew what he was doing, and he talked about getting rid of it, and then he said, well, actually, I didn't get rid of it. The cameras didn't show him. But in terms of the claim, the lawsuit itself, what you're saying is that it's just like any other tort. Were there damages? Did you have a duty to protect me? Did you breach that duty? And are you the reason for that breach occurring? Well, you have a duty to protect your patients. Someone died, obviously, so that's the worst type of damage you can have. And then, are you the cause? Did you have policies in place to protect us? And the family saying you didn't. Atrium will argue that they did. They'll settle this at some point for a large amount of money.
And then real quick, because I know people at home are probably wondering, any indication that there's some sort of connection here?
It didn't show that he knew these individuals. Okay. It just showed that he was a sick person that wanted to do this against him. And there's a Netflix movie that shows this exact same thing that was a real case that happened in 2003 in the northeastern part of the country. And so this is something that folks should be mindful of, and definitely a very unfortunate situation.
Really disturbing. All right, Khalif, thanks for breaking that down for us.